Have you ever saved money so carefully, so desperately, that you started skipping meals, skipping small joys, skipping life itself, and still felt that one bad day could take everything away? Have you ever held coins so tightly in your fist that your hand began to bleed, and still you could not let go because fear had convinced you that letting go meant dying? There is a saying that will change everything you believe about money, and it is this: never save money. Now, before you turn away, listen carefully, because this does not mean waste money or live without care. It means money should help you live, not make you afraid to touch it. It means saving is important, but money must have a purpose beyond sitting still in darkness. And to understand this truth, you must first meet a man named Ethan, a man who learned this lesson the hardest way possible, through pain, through loss, and through one small light that changed everything. In a forgotten town, where electricity flickered and failed like a dying heartbeat, where blackouts came without warning and stayed without mercy, there lived a man named Ethan. He worked nights as a security guard at an old warehouse on the edge of town, far from the streetlights, far from the noise, far from anything that felt like hope. Ethan was a simple man, quiet and careful, the kind of man who never raised his voice, never asked for more than he needed, and never believed he deserved anything beyond survival. Every night, he walked to work in shoes that were falling apart, the soles worn so thin he could feel the stones beneath his feet. Every morning, he walked home with heavy eyes and an empty stomach, telling himself that hunger was temporary, but safety was forever. At home, his wife Mia waited with tired eyes and a gentle heart that had grown heavier with each passing year. She never complained, not once, but Ethan could see the exhaustion in the way she moved, in the way she sighed when the lights went out, in the way she looked at their son Leo and tried to smile when there was nothing left to smile about. Leo was 7 years old, bright and curious, the kind of boy who asked questions about everything, who wanted to read books and draw pictures and understand the world. But in a town where darkness came without warning, curiosity was a luxury they could not afford. One evening, the three of them sat together for dinner, a simple meal of rice and vegetables, when the power went out without warning. The room fell into blackness so complete that Ethan could not see his own hands. Mia lit a small candle, the flame trembling and weak, casting shadows that danced like ghosts on the walls. Leo held up his schoolwork, a drawing he had made that day, and asked how he was supposed to study in this darkness, how he was supposed to become someone when he could not even see the page in front of him. That question pierced Ethan's heart like a knife. That night, lying awake while his family slept, Ethan made a decision that would shape the next 2 years of his life. He took an old envelope, wrote the word generator on it with a broken pencil, and hid it deep inside a drawer beneath his clothes. A generator, people said, was the answer to everything. A generator meant light when darkness came, and a generator meant safety, comfort, and peace. Ethan believed this with all his heart, and he began to save with a desperation that slowly consumed him. He stopped buying tea, stopped buying fruit, stopped replacing his broken shoes. When his body ached, he ignored it. When his stomach growled, he drank water and called it enough. Each week, he placed whatever he could into that envelope, watching it grow thicker, heavier, more precious than anything he owned. And for a while, it felt like progress. It felt like hope. It felt like he was finally doing something right. But life does not wait for envelopes to fill. One night, Leo woke up burning with fever, his small body shaking, his breath shallow and fast. Mia's voice broke as she called for Ethan, and together they rushed through dark streets to the clinic at the edge of town. The doctor looked at Leo, looked at the fear in their eyes, and asked for payment before treatment. Ethan's hands trembled as he opened the envelope, as he counted out the money he had starved himself to save, as he watched months of sacrifice disappear in moments. Leo recovered, thank God, but something inside Ethan cracked that night. The envelope was thin again, the fear was back, and this time it was worse. The months that followed broke Ethan in ways he could not name. The rent increased, just a little, but enough to hurt. His supervisor told him his shoes were a safety hazard and he must replace them immediately or lose his job. The envelope emptied again and again, no matter how much he sacrificed, no matter how little he ate, no matter how many small joys he denied himself and his family. Ethan stopped talking at home, and he stopped smiling. He stopped looking Mia in the eyes because he was ashamed, so deeply ashamed, of being a man who could not provide, who could not protect, who could not even keep a simple envelope full. The silence between them grew like a wall, and Leo began to look at his father with confusion instead of admiration. Ethan was saving money, but he was losing everything else. Then one night, during the longest blackout the town had seen in years, something changed. Ethan stepped outside into the darkness, exhausted and hollow, and saw a light glowing steadily in a window across the street. It was the home of Mrs. Carter, an elderly woman who sold snacks near the school, a woman Ethan had never spoken to beyond polite nods. Her house was calm and bright, while the rest of the street drowned in shadow. Ethan walked over, knocked gently, and asked her how she still had light when everyone else had none. Mrs. Carter smiled, a warm and knowing smile, and showed him a rechargeable lantern sitting on her table. She explained that she charged it when the power was on and rented it to neighbors when the power failed. It was simple, she said, but it worked. The lantern helped her earn money, helped her feel useful, helped her live instead of just survive. That night, Ethan walked home slowly, the empty envelope in his pocket, Mrs. Carter's words echoing in his mind. For the first time, he understood something that fear had hidden from him for years. Money sitting in a drawer stays silent. It does not grow. It does not protect. It only waits to be taken by the next emergency. But money used with purpose, money put into motion, money turned into something useful. That money comes back. That money multiplies. That money builds a life instead of just delaying death. Ethan sat at the kitchen table until dawn, the candle burning low, his heart beating fast with fear and hope, and something that felt almost like courage. When Mia woke and asked if he was still saving for the generator, Ethan shook his head and spoke words he had never allowed himself to say. He did not want to save just to feel safe anymore. He wanted to build something that could actually help them live. Mia listened without interrupting, her eyes filled with worry, but also with something Ethan had not seen in a long time: trust. The next morning, Ethan used the last of his savings to buy 2 rechargeable lanterns and a small phone charging device. His hands shook as he carried them home because spending felt like falling, it like failure, like everything he had been taught to fear. But he kept walking. He made an agreement with a barber nearby to charge his equipment during the day in exchange for help closing the shop at night. It was small, it was uncertain, but it was movement. That week, during another blackout, Ethan walked door to door through the dark streets, offering light for a small fee. Some doors stayed closed. Some people laughed, but others said yes, desperate for light, desperate for a charged phone, desperate for something as simple as being able to see their children's faces. Ethan earned only a little that first night, but it felt different from the money in the envelope. This money had purpose. This money had hope. Week by week, lantern by lantern, Ethan grew. Leo began helping, writing names and times in a notebook with careful pride. Mia started smiling again, not because life was easy, but because they were building something together. Neighbors knocked with respect instead of pity, the silence in their home filled with conversation, with planning, with laughter that had been missing for years. Setbacks came, a broken lantern, a difficult customer, a week of no blackouts and no income, but Ethan did not collapse. He adapted. He learned. He kept moving forward. Months later, Ethan bought a small solar panel, modest and imperfect, but enough to keep his equipment alive without depending on anyone else. When sunlight touched it for the first time, Ethan felt peace. That night, when the power failed, their home stayed bright. Leo looked up at the steady light and asked if they were finally safe. Ethan knelt beside his son, looked into his eyes, and said that safety was never about hiding. Safety was about building something that could stand again tomorrow, no matter what today took away. He flattened the old envelope and placed it in the notebook as a reminder of who he had been. And when people asked how he had changed his life, Ethan answered simply, saving money did not save him. Using money with purpose, with courage, with faith in tomorrow. That is what turned his fear into light. Because money hidden creates fear, but money used with purpose creates life. And life does not wait for perfect plans or full envelopes. It grows through small, brave steps taken even when the darkness is still close. So do not just save your money. Use it. Build with it. Let it carry you forward, because the safest place for money is not in a drawer. It is in motion, working for the life you deserve to live.